I might be a bit paranoid here, but I have the feeling that YouTube will demonetize my video if I have my name in any of my thumbnails. Am I on the blacklist, YouTube? Anyway, we'll see what happens as we're gonna talk about this random hoopla, and depending on your view, this might be a hot take from me or a mild sensible take from me. Before we start, YouTube is going to demonetize this video because it talks about sensitive gender issues. So if you want to support this channel, you can do so by checking the links down below. So this is a hoopla that began with articles talking about how Cyberpunk 2077 will remove the gender options. According to the senior concept artist, the developers want to make a video game that is really inclusive, and they're doing that by not just removing the gender option, but you are allowed to choose a body type. You can mix and match body types, extra skins, tattoos, hairstyles, and even selecting your voices. This sounds like something that Saints Row 2 did, one of my favorite sandbox game of all time, with some seriously crazy customization options. Now, people didn't take the issue with the removal of the gender itself, or at least most people don't, because they still allow for customization. They do, however, took the issue with the reasoning of the removal. The reasoning is because the creators want to be more diverse and inclusive. So they removed the gender options to be more inclusive and diverse to the 0.5% of the population who begs for it like it's the end of the world. And even on that, I honestly don't understand why people are mad, or at least why people criticize this action. Some people are mad because this is trying to cater to a demographic that does nothing but demonize the consumers and hate us for our guts. They're appealing to the very loud minorities who would call us bad names and hate our video games and gamers in general. But that's like being mad at McDonald's for giving a vegetarian option. You might not like vegetarians, but they still have their typical burgers and chicken nuggets and all of that. Actually, I don't know if McDonald's serve vegetarian food, but it's just an example, okay? Why are you so concerned that there's an option that appeals to the people you don't like? I understand why you don't like them. I make fun of these easily offended people on stream every week, but the developers still give you, yes, you, the paying customer, the option that you'd like. This reminds me so much of that time where a journalist complained about the Life is Strange ending, where you can basically make the main protagonist to not be a lesbian, and that's bad. Because read this dumb reasoning here. You still have the option to make her a lesbian, but it's bad because bad people can make her to not be a lesbian. No. Or to put it in a more familiar perspective, it's like being pissed at a Japanese game developer that gives the option to reduce the bounciness of tatas because it will appeal to the moral guardians who don't like dumb anime tatas. I feel like the culture war has made people so bitter, emotional, and hateful that they're unable to think about the facts of the situation because the one side that they don't like are being treated well, while our side didn't get the same treatment, even though in this particular instance they do. You still have the option to be just a male or just a female. In my opinion, this hoopla only should be an issue if the customization straight up prevents you from being a cis male or a cis female, which is doubtful because V in many of the promotional trailers and pictures is shown to be a male and or a female. Removing the gender is not the definitive proof of that because you can still select a male sounding voice or a female sounding voice. In Saints Row 2, you are able to make a female looking character with a male Cockney voice, and that's a game from 2008. That game is 11 years old. I feel really old now. From what I'm reading, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to do pretty much the same thing that Saints Row 2 did, and that's great. I love the customization in Saints Row 2. Now, Saints Row 2 does have a gender option, or more accurately, a gender preset, but you can customize it even further later. You can select the female preset while having the body of a muscular man, or vice versa. I don't know about you, but this is good. More customizations and flexibility. How is this bad? Because it appeals to the overly sensitive people on Twitter? If you're given a free gaming PC by a random gaming company in celebration of Pride Month, are you not gonna take it because they also give it away to Twitter warriors? Maybe the quartering can tell me why it's bad. So Jeremy, please talk on 1.5 speed.
If how they're going to spend their time is virtue signaling about stuff, I have some concerns.
Oh, so it's because of virtue signaling. Is it the part where they say that they want to be more diverse and inclusive? is saying that you want to be more diverse and inclusive automatically mean that you're virtue signaling to the easily offended moral guardians? I disagree on that notion, Jeremy, because their actions of providing more customizations actually do promote diversity and inclusivity. Now, if the developers actually say straight white cis men are not allowed here, but they also say that they want to promote diversity and inclusivity, then that's where the real issue comes from, but not this.
I don't know that this is necessarily harmful, but it is clearly slanted towards the 0.5% of people out in the world that literally care at all about this.
So, you still get the option for you, the 99.5%. Are you doubting that the 99.5% wouldn't get their option?
I don't see any problem with having, obviously, a male character identify as male and a female identify as female. And if you want to have some third option that's androgynous, go ahead, right? I don't see the value in removing men from the game.
Okay, stop. That argument would only work if the game actually removes men from the game in general. And as we can see from many of the promotional trailers, they don't. Just because they remove the gender option doesn't mean that they remove men. Why are you arguing something that would make you an easy target for game journalists to make fun of you?
Cyberpunk 2077 will have a deep customization system that will go far beyond the simply choosing your character's background. It's CDPR's hope that this will help blur the lines between gender. Why?
Because it's Cyberpunk. They blur the lines on everything. I know that's not the reason that they said. I know that they say that they want to be more diverse and inclusive, but that would suggest that being diverse and inclusive is a bad thing. That would suggest that giving more options for the player is a bad thing. It's not. And just because the people you don't like get the option, that doesn't make it a bad thing. If you're going to argue that point, you are no better than this journalist over here who actually wrote this. Now, why does this remind me so much of when that time Phil Spencer made that PR statement and how the way they were worded sounds so much like him trying to appeal to the loud minorities, probably the same loud minorities that I'm talking about in this video. Why am I bothered by that more and not by this here? Well, simple really. Cyberpunk still gives you the option that you want, whereas in Xbox Live, they'll probably ban you if you say insert offensive slur here.
So you choose your body type, and we have two voices, one that's male sounding and one that's female sounding. Okay, but what if I want to create a male character?
Make a male body type and choose a male sounding voice?
One might consider the fact that the overwhelming majority of video game players are men. If they had a preference, which probably most people do, if my preference was to create a male character, I can only create one that sounds and looks like a male.
Yeah?
But it's not necessarily a male. In fact, the voice could be voiced by a female if the only characteristic is, in fact, that it sounds like a male.
Seriously, Jeremy? One, I can list you female voice actors who voice male characters very well, and two, you don't need to be concerned about that because the female and male voice actors for Cyberpunk 2077 are already confirmed. You can even listen to the male character's voice in many of the promotional trailers, and you tell me if it's voiced by a female? Open more tabs, Jeremy, and do more research instead of making assumptions and making your mom jokes on Twitter.
Why not let people create a male or a female character, though? I'm instead selecting a body type. That's not a gender.
Okay, do you need a freaking sign that says I am male in front of the freaking character? Oh no, this person who has a male body type and sounds like a male is actually not a male because there's no label that says that he is. If only he puts it on his Twitter bio.
We just want to know what we can improve on because we want to make a really good game and we want to make a game that everybody is comfortable playing. Well, what about the people that are only comfortable playing the game identifying as a male?
Select a male body type and select a male voice, or vice versa. Why is this an issue?
National worldwide statistics would say that people that identify as this is something like 99.5% of population. What if they want to identify as that, but now they can't?
Ah, yes, they can't identify as male or female because they removed the labels. My Saints Row female character is definitely not a woman because there's no label in the game that says that she is.
This is the problem that you run into when you start pandering to people with absurd demands.
Absurd demands? Let's review what they changed here. They removed the gender option so that players can have more flexibility and customization for their characters. No absurd demands here. Do you know what is an absurd demand? As I showed in a Cyberpunk 2077 video I made last year, I think, demanding a custom pronoun like Z or Zer or they or them in a fully voiced game, that is an absurd demand. And I can explain to you why. The voice actors have to re-record their lines, and the universe needs to find some ways to conform into that behavior, which means that the game has to be delayed even further. That, and it will be a localization nightmare. Very inclusive, guys. If the pronoun selection is limited to the traditional he or she, that'll be fine and more comfortable for the international team. But if that's the case, you're gonna face a scenario where you make a male character who sounds like a male and looks like a male, but identify as female, and somehow everybody correctly identifies you as a woman. Actually, you know what? Please add the pronoun option because I want to see this hilarious scenario. Point is, based on the changes that I'm looking at here, I don't think they're demanding anything absurd or even exclusionary. Again, you still have the option to be a male or a female. You just don't get to label them as such. And besides, not abusing the character creation that allows you to have a lot of flexibility, it's just not fun. I think that's enough for this video. The point of this 12-minute video is that Jeremy has an issue with the fact that this decision feels like virtue signaling or pandering based on the reasoning, but he has no issue with players having more customization options. In fact, he thinks it's great that people have more customization options. He does have issue with the inability to definitively identify as a male or a female because I don't know, the game doesn't label them as such. Actually, I'm gonna end that video with this line.
Is this hurting anybody? No, I'm not saying it is. And my detractors are like, oh, he's outraged. I'm not outraged.
Yes. Yes, you are. And now let's get into the next video, which is him arrogantly saying, I am right, guys, I am right, while being generally confused in why people criticize him, including his fans, by the way.
Generally, I feel like I speak my mind very clearly.
Oh, you did, Jeremy, no doubt. It's just that, well, you're wrong.
That's part of the reason why I talk so slow. I'm trying to think through things when I'm talking.
Wow, even Jeremy says that you should watch his videos at double speed.
Today there was a bizarre thing that happened,
Oh, you mean people criticizing your videos? That's not bizarre, Jeremy, that's an everyday occurrence.
And perhaps my tweet was a little over the top, but that's just marketing. That's just the way it is.
Jeremy, I know you're a marketing guy, and I know that this is what you do. I know that this works for you and your channel, and it didn't work out for me because my channel's freaking dying, guys. Look at that loss. But let me explain to you why your tweets, and I'm referring to this one over here and this one over here, are bad for you and your character. You did say something along the lines of,
and my detractors are like, oh, he's outraged. I'm not outraged.
Okay, let's read your tweet, shall we? What if I want to identify as male? I now feel excluded from this game. Aw, I need to play the sad, sad violin for you. As you said earlier, you were pretty milquetoast, and you're not mad. On your video, your tweets, on the other hand, suggested otherwise. Your marketing tweets suggested otherwise. You presented a character in your Twitter that is just like a man baby who makes freaking your mama jokes and get outraged at every single thing. You cannot say that you are milquetoast and chill in your video, but presents tweets that are anything but. That, in my opinion, is slimy and disingenuous, and it's precisely why I am not a fan of you. But I can't deny that it works. It makes your easily outraged audiences to retweet this tweet and share the video everywhere. The language is very provocative and it appeals to the very easily outraged part on the Twitter sphere. And yes, it's not just the moral guardians that can get easily offended on Twitter. You, yes, you can also get easily offended. And so do I. Constantly retweeting people who quote tweeted your tweet and give their takes on it, that's a good way to remind people in your feed that you just made a video, and a good way to tell your followers, hey, in case you missed it, I made a video. Point is, don't take YouTube lessons from me because my channel is freaking dying. Take lessons from the quartering instead, at your own discretion. Okay, I'm getting off track. To conclude this Cyberpunk hoopla, I'm hoping that this video would open to a lot of your eyes into the reality that the world isn't black and white. The outrage aren't always coming from the typical crowds that I criticize a lot. It can also come from the people on our side. If you disagree, I'm all ears on my stream, my Twitter DM is open, and my emails, but the general point that I want to convey on this video is that there are many things to be legitimately outraged at. This is not one of them, and anyone who says otherwise would overwhelm you with cynicism and negative energy, and that's not good. You need something positive and wholesome. So here's a cat video.